making it today.
I understand.
Allergy season.
That's all we can do.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's Team Kentucky update. I want to start with what I just got back from this morning. I was in Louisville, where we saw another terrific example of Kentucky's economic momentum. U of L Health announced today they are building a new 7-story tower at U of L Hospital. The expansion is a $144 million investment. It's going to create 325 new good-paying jobs. The expansion will increase the hospital's operating capacity. It will include additional private beds for patients, increased clinical space, and a new observation unit and other additions. U of L Hospital's expansion is great news for Louisville, but also all of the Commonwealth. U of L treats patients from all of Kentucky's 120 counties. It has a level 1 trauma center, one of only 2 adult trauma centers around the Commonwealth. The hospital is also home to Kentucky's first comprehensive stroke center and also includes U of L Brown Cancer Center. Again, thank you and congratulations to U of L Health. They've been an outstanding Team Kentucky partner in fighting COVID-19. And today's announcement is just more evidence of an economy on fire. After a record-breaking year last year of $11.2 billion in private sector investment, after last year a record 18,000 new good-paying jobs here in Kentucky, 2022 is off to a strong start. More than 2,000 new jobs have been announced, more than $740 million of new investment in just 2 months. And we're going to do a whole lot more than that, probably in the next month alone. All right, with that, like we have been doing each of these weeks, we're going to sign a couple bills into law. We have the sponsors here with us today. When I read out the bill number, if they want to join me up here, I'll read my comments, give them a chance to make a few of their own for shepherding through the legislation. We'll have one where we got a whole bunch of students with us today, and they will help us sign it into law. So we'll start with Senate Bill 104. So today we have some good pieces of legislation to sign. First, we have Senate Bill 104. The prime sponsor is Danny Carroll, a senator who I don't think is here yet. This piece of legislation puts into state law something that's been otherwise in executive order, an Employment First Council. That council will help better serve and empower Kentuckians with disabilities and provide greater opportunities for these citizens and their families. The council's goal is to identify state policies which disadvantage adults with disabilities or act as a barrier to gaining employment, and then to make recommendations about how to improve those state policies. Council will work hand in hand with the Office of Vocational Rehab, which works to help Kentuckians with disabilities to find employment and to maximize their independence. These two agencies will be working together to help our fellow Kentuckians build that better Kentucky where everyone counts, everyone is included. A great lesson of COVID is that everybody counts, and we can only prosper when we lift everybody up. And that's exactly what this bill does, especially for Kentuckians with disabilities. So I thought we would have Senator Carroll here today, but I'm going to go ahead and sign Senate Bill 104 into law. All right, there's the bill. 24. All right. You want to switch us out, Kenny? All right, next, we got a whole group for this, which is pretty exciting. It's a school group that is doing a good thing for their friends and for the entire community. So just this week, we celebrated Agriculture Day here in Kentucky. We celebrated more than 74,000 farm operations in our state where our farmers produce livestock or grow fruits and vegetables. It do so much incredible work that feeds not only the Commonwealth, but so many states around us. We talked about how we have a big challenge to increase the world's output by nearly 60 to 70% by the year 2050 just to feed the world's growing population. That takes innovation and it takes good ideas, especially from our next generations. So our farmers have put meals on our tables and clothes on our backs. And today, by signing House Concurrent Resolution 47, sponsored by Representative Deanna Frazier Gordon of Richmond, we are further supporting our Kentucky farmers by encouraging local school districts to purchase available goods from local farmers and producers. You've heard of farm-to-table restaurants. Well, this is farm to schools. And we have some amazing students here today with us from Madison Central High School. I think they were one of the first schools to get a container farm as well, from App Harvest, to learn a whole lot about farming of the future and how their iPhone can connect them even with nature and help us to improve our yields, to ultimately meet our, I believe, faith obligation to feed those in need. Really, this is their idea, and this was the idea behind the legislation. Madison County Schools began buying local meats and vegetables several years ago before the supply chain issues we are now experiencing. Not only are they getting the benefits of students and staffs eating healthy, fresh local meats and vegetables, students are also being educated on the value of Kentucky's farms and the values of supporting local foods. This was also a great way to support local economies and understood that a local supply chain is critical long before we all had to learn that. So first, I'd ask Representative Deanna Frazier Gordon to join us for a few comments, and then we want all the students that are here from Madison Central to help us sign it into law.
Thank you, Governor.
Absolutely.
I appreciate it. And I really couldn't add much to what has already been said, but it's not often that we see a win-win-win. And this is something that's definitely beneficial for students that get the benefit of fresh, nutritious meals, benefits our farmers for another output for their goods. And then also it's beneficial for the school system because a lot of times it is more cost effective. And so I really just want to give a shout out to Food Service Director Scott Anderson and his team. And we encourage other school districts to adopt this model.
All right. So we've got a big group. I think I'm going to sign this one at the podium so we can get as many people possible up here. So come on up. Hey. Welcome.
Thank you.
Welcome.
How are you?
How are you? What's your name?
Nicole.
Nicole.
Caitlin.
Caitlin. Ben.
Taken.
Tegan.
Laney.
Laney.
Tanner.
Tanner.
Chris.
Chris. Nice to meet you.
Jose.
Jose.
Brett.
Brett. Good to see you.
Jeremy.
Jeremy. Good to see you. We can do kind of this next step down here too on both sides of the podium. We got a big group. Great. Come on in. Pretty neat. Learning about government today, and it just turned out that we had an opportunity
That's right.
to do this.
That's right.
So, House Concurrent Resolution 47,
Very good.
and this is the actual law, not a ceremonial signing, but you can see you've got the signatures of the Speaker of the House, the President of the Senate, of the Clerk, and that's when it comes to me. So, this is how we make it law on the 24th. All right, we are proud of y'all. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Governor.
Absolutely.
I appreciate your support.
Absolutely. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks for leading, right? All right. Nice to meet y'all.
Nice to meet you.
This is a little more fun than a COVID briefing. Everybody give us just a second. What a wonderful day, an opportunity. So next is Senate Bill 135, sponsored by Senator Jason Howell of Murray. This legislation is the next step in helping our county clerks to modernize their services. And I think we've got Representative Meredith on this one too. Come on up, guys. County clerks play a very pivotal role in our lives and in our communities. Their services include registering people to vote, providing legal documents, including land records and marriage licenses, as well as key vehicle records. And in today's world, we know there are many who'd really appreciate the convenience of being able to access these documents online. and the legislation starts that process. I also supported this move by providing funding, about $25 million in my recommended budget, to help establish an online portal. Now, this will not happen overnight, and the system needs to be built to best serve Kentuckians. So we look forward to this advancement. We're happy to sign this legislation. Representative, Senator, podium's yours. Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Yeah, as the governor said, this bill goes and takes another step forward in modernizing our clerk's offices. This deals with the land record side of things. Many of our clerks were already going through this process of bringing most of their records online. Then COVID happened, and we realized that we really needed to be able to do everything online. It really brought that into the forefront for us. We had to slow down and stay out of buildings, but people kept building buildings and buying buildings, and we needed to be able to take care of all the documentation that was so important for our normal everyday economy. This bill takes the necessary steps to bring everybody in, to modernize all the clerk's records in a time frame that will work better for everybody. And I'd appreciate your support in this with the budget. Thank you.
I just want to commend everybody that worked on this effort with Senate Bill 135. Senator Howell did a great job in co-chairing the task force and bringing this legislation to life. Governor, we thank you for your investment in your budget and the dollars that were put in the Senate budget as well. This is going to bring us into the 21st century in our clerk's office and ensure, we hope we never deal with another pandemic like the one we've seen.
Tornadoes.
But if we do, we'll be taken care of, and these documents will be online so that everybody can continue commerce and continue moving property down the road and having those transactions good and secure. So thank you all very much.
We were fortunate Graves County was already primarily online.
The process of them drying out those records is fascinating to me.
35.
Looks like the right move.
All right, here we go. It's good to be the governor sometimes. All right, congratulations, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Go. Absolutely.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very
Good to
much.
see you. Yeah. You guys are pairing up on a number of these.
Yeah.
All right, now on to Senate Bill 106. This bill was passed to help elevate an issue that is caused when a smaller city no longer has an active government, but is still collecting taxes from residents. When cities no longer have the resources to administrate as they once did, many times due to no one filing for office, under this legislation, they can be dissolved more easily. Now, there are not many of these cities. There's probably less than 10. That's why it's important to note that cities that are able to maintain a city government, both by election or appointment, and levying and collection of necessary taxes cannot be dissolved. Local media has documented this issue, and it's been reported that in some cases, a city may have more than $100,000 in tax money collected with no way to spend it because there are no public officials. Now, under this new law, these funds will be able to be spent to help these communities, which is what the residents want. The bill also outlines safeguards to ensure that a city is never dissolved if it's doing a good job and serving its citizens. I think this is by Senator Robbie Mills, who's not here today. We got the League of Cities. Y'all want to join us for this signing? All right, we will sign Senate Bill 106. Nice to see you. How are you? Sure. All right. 106? All right.
Thank you, Governor. Appreciate it. Good to see you.
Congratulations. Y'all can share, right?
Give it to Robbie.
There you go. Next, we have House Bill 144, sponsored by Representative Russell Weber of Shepherdsville. This is a good bill because it provides relief to employers who may still be experiencing slow growth or tight margins due to the effect of the pandemic. To be clear, we are hopefully coming out of this pandemic, but both businesses and our families at very critical levels are still feeling the impacts of this pandemic and need a little bit of help. This is help for our businesses. What we're able to do is suspend the 2022 taxable wage base from increasing by $300. This reduction is estimated to save employers almost $10 million in additional unemployment taxes. And we're rolling back the 2022 unemployment tax rates, which is expected to save employers about $120 million. HB 144 also suspends an employer surcharge, and with the contribution of roughly over $242 million of American Rescue Plan funds, puts the Unemployment Trust Fund in solid grounds. Representative, would you like to say a few words?
Thank you, Governor. Thank you, Governor Beshear, advocates, and business leaders for your vision and support in fostering this notable piece of legislation. I want to thank everyone for being here today. For 2 years, our Commonwealth has grappled with a pandemic unlike anything seen in more than 100 years. And while a lot of things haven't exactly been clear, and there have been disagreements along the way, I'm proud to stand here with you today as Governor, you signed this bill into law. We must confront and tackle the state's larger challenges together. It is important we take a moment to recognize how far Kentucky has come since the world first shut down. In the blink of an eye, our state's economy changed drastically. Mandates forced businesses to shut their doors. Hundreds of thousands of Kentuckians lost their jobs, and the unemployment insurance claims skyrocketed to historic heights. All told, the General Assembly has a great responsibility for the issues that impact Kentuckians across the state, from the hills of Appalachia to downtown Bowling Green and west to the Purchase area. But as our state continues to navigate unprecedented economic recovery, we must remain mindful of the lingering financial impact of COVID. Kentucky employers already grappling historically high inflation, supply chain bottlenecks, and a depleted talent pool now face a new crisis, a jump in their unemployment insurance tax assessment. Last year, we took the first step in protecting businesses and froze rates before they saw a massive tax increase of $100 per employee. This crisis demands action again, and House Bill 144 is the right way we can help our businesses for one more year while they get back on their feet. My measure remedies this cost for our small businesses and local employers by freezing the tax for the second year in a row. According to the Kentucky Chamber of Commerce, this bill will save businesses about $70 per employee. This plays an essential role in helping our local economies move from recovery into growth. House Bill 144 also appropriates $242 million to effectively bring our unemployment trust fund back to where it was prior to COVID, so the trust fund is stable once again and prevent it from being overburdened by this one-year tax freeze. Strengthening this fund is critical for Kentucky. At the end of the day, we are providing the tools our state needs to thrive, making sure workers have benefits when they need them, all while improving employers' capacity to create more jobs and hire more hardworking Kentuckians. On that note, once again, I want to thank all the collaborators standing here with me today and the governor for signing House Bill 144. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Governor.
And the final bill we're taking up today is House Bill 436, sponsored by Representative David Mead. Unfortunately, he's not able to join us, but this is a bill that makes auctions safer for Kentuckians by making auctioneers more accountable. The bill also makes the auctioneer licensing process more efficient. Thousands of Kentuckians take part in auctions every year, and this helps them be held to the highest standards. All right. That'll conclude our bill signings for today. I was heartened to hear that our goal is not just to help our businesses in need, but also to make sure our workers that fall on hard times have the benefits that they need. I hope we can come out of this session with some form of a safety net still intact. When Kentuckians are knocked down, we ought to be helping them up. We do not have generous benefits here in Kentucky. They are in line with just about everybody else. But when somebody loses a job through no fault of their own, and we make it that much harder to get back on track, we don't help our workforce, we hurt it. All right, over the last week, I also had the opportunity to visit several Kentucky communities and deliver good news in the form of awards to fund infrastructure improvements that are so important to our people and for our future. The grant funding awards are coming from a variety of sources, from the Cleaner Water Program that we reached agreement with for the General Assembly, as well as the Kentucky Transportation Cabinet's Transportation Alternatives Program, that's called the TAP program, and Community Development Block Grants, as well as Recreational Trails programs. So last Thursday, I was in Bowling Green to announce $1.6 million in TAP funding to the city of Bowling Green to rehabilitate their historic College Street pedestrian bridge. Very important to the city. Also $25,000 from the Recreational Trails program to Warren County. They are developing a dual slalom course and bike skills course at one of their parks to attract so many people to want to come and live in Bowling Green, but also to participate in competitions. It was really exciting to hear the enthusiasm in their parks director. On Friday, I was in Inez, and we awarded $410,000 in cleaner water programs for Martin County. This is a water district that has needed help and has, for many reasons, struggled. What I do want to say is it now appears that everybody, from the concerned citizens to the district, are communicating, are trying to work together and trying to make progress. So you, in many ways, rightfully hear about the challenges in the district. What we don't talk about is the people working really hard to try to make it better. So I hope this helps them to make a difference. Also, we were in Johnson County with a $300,000 community development block grant to expand and upgrade W.R. Castle's fire station. We were also at and these are amazing folks. This is a volunteer fire department that serves a large area that keeps everybody safe. And this makes sure that they have the equipment they need. We were also at one of the first build-ready sites, or the newest under one of our programs in Johnson County. We hope to attract a great employer there as quickly as possible. And then yesterday, I was in Arlington, in Hopkins County, and in Greenville, in Muhlenberg County. We were able to award $2.8 million in cleaner water program funding to Hopkins County and Muhlenberg counties. And it was to all different towns and cities that were there. Also $275,000 in TAP funding to the city of Nortonville. It's going to make their sidewalks ADA compliant so everyone in that town can enjoy that town equally and no one is left out. We also recognized a young man in Hopkins County named Noah. He came up with the idea of a memorial garden in Dawson Springs to recognize and remember those that are lost. He won a national grant of several $1,000s. Listen, this is a smart young man with a big heart, and we are really proud of him. And this is his entire class that's going to help make it possible. It was real special. And over on the side is a family that lost family in that tornado event. They are working with this class, and to hear from them what it means, especially coming from the youth, is pretty special. So those are some great students. Those are some great teachers and parents. Those are great Kentuckians. Today, I'm also excited to highlight millions of dollars awarded to help our incredible tourism industry. We announced this $8.9 billion industry brings more than 67.8 million people to Kentucky every year. The tourism sector supports economic growth in rural and urban communities in Kentucky, and it's become a magnet. for people to move to Kentucky. They come for the tourism. They see how special Kentucky truly is. And then, especially for remote workers, they pack up and they join us here on Team Kentucky. So yesterday, we joined members of the General Assembly to distribute $5.3 million to 103 organizations across 88 counties. More than $4.6 million will be directly awarded to tourism and destination marketing organizations. The additional $678,624 will go directly to the 9 tourism regions, which will ensure this investment touches nearly every county in Kentucky. Among the awards, the Western Waterlands Tourism Region, which features the communities impacted by those tornadoes, will receive $376,335 to reinvigorate tourism in the region. The Caves, Lakes, and Corvettes region, which includes Bowling Green, will receive $347,052. We can and we should do more to further support tourism, especially our state parks. My budget proposed $200 million in one-time funding for modernization efforts. We got the best of the best amenities at our state parks so that we can attract anyone and everyone from around the world to come join us, see how amazing this state is, hopefully stay for a while and spend their dollars, but later maybe locate their company in that place that they really loved. My budget additionally dedicated $10 million in ARPA funds to boost Kentucky's tourism through a targeted marketing campaign. And I believe it's the Senate or House's version of the budget that has significant dollars for tourism as well. I encourage them to keep that in their budgets. All right, next we want to provide an update on our efforts to help those displaced by December's deadly tornadoes in Western Kentucky. Since the tornadoes devastated Western Kentucky in December, our state parks have provided temporary housing. They were going, the rangers, and picking people up that very night or in the morning and bringing them to shelter, feeding them in the most difficult time of need. We had, at the height, more than 800 individuals and 250 first responders. We have been working really hard to find people more permanent solutions, move people into travel trailers, or find them alternative lodging while they rebuild. Today, our state parks are now down to 89 displaced Kentuckians. We've worked through this process, which, yes, can be difficult, with compassion, providing a significant period of time to provide for emergency needs, and now trying to move people back towards self-sufficiency. The individuals that we're still housing are primarily at Pennyrile, which is located near Dawson, which was hit hard. About 70% of all residential was wiped out in that town. I love that town. And I said from day one, we're going to rebuild it, and every other community that has been impacted. As I mentioned, the transition includes medium-term housing options like travel trailers made possible through the Commonwealth Sheltering Program. As of yesterday, people from 61 households were occupying 62 trailers. That's because one household's so big, they are occupying 2 trailers. And remember, on March 15th, that was recently, President Biden signed the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2022, which helped Kentucky a bunch. It increases the federal cost share from 75%, which is normal in a disaster, to 90%. 5 Kentucky disasters are actually included in that time period. So this is going to save the Commonwealth and those communities tens of millions of dollars in the least. We are grateful for our federal delegation pushing for this. We are grateful for the president signing it. We have also finalized the dates for the period of time that the federal government will cover 100% of expenses. This was an extraordinary request that the president himself agreed to and in fact signed when he was touring Mayfield and Dawson Springs. So the time period selected for category A, that's debris removal. Those are the biggest costs. December 27th, 2021 to January 25th, 2022. That's the period of time the federal government is going to pay 100%. And then category B is sheltering, emergency operations, evacuation, and search and rescue. And a lot of that was the more emergent when we had a whole lot of EMS and first responders coming in from different places. So the period of 100% covering of that we are going to identify will be December 12th 2021 to January 10th, 2022. We were able to have most all of the county judges and mayors that were impacted on a call to talk to them about that. I think we reached agreement and talked to several others that weren't able to make the call. All right, we'll finish up or nearly finish up going over where we are in COVID. First, I want to talk about Omicron BA2. That is the new variant that has been in the news. So the subvariant has now been confirmed in 29 Kentucky residents since the first week of February. These residents are from 13 different counties. Molecular sequencing is performed on only a small subset of cases, so there have likely been many more BA2 infections that haven't been confirmed. According to the CDC last week, approximately 35 cases that went through molecular sequencing are coming back as BA2 nationally. Now, what that means is we are probably at that or close to it. We have been a couple weeks behind some of the trends we have seen in other places. But it is too soon to know whether BA2 will lead to excess hospitalizations or deaths. BA2 is detectable using PCR or rapid antigen tests. It's not known if it causes more severe disease or is more resistant to natural immunity or vaccine-induced immunity. Based on early studies, it's thought to spread faster, be more infectious, and replicate more efficient than the original Omicron, which would make it one of the most contagious viruses in at least in our lifetimes, if not what we know of human history. But we do not necessarily have evidence that it is going to harm people any more than Omicron, and we certainly hope less. As always, we'll keep you updated in real time as we find out more information from public health officials and scientists, but we know this: get vaccinated. We know that getting vaccinated will provide a level of protection, especially from hospitalization, from severe disease, and from death. You can also wear a quality mask when you are concerned. You have that information to be empowered to make your decision and not let any pressure out there get to you in making the right decision for you. Let's look at our stair-stepper chart for just a minute of overall cases. What we saw is last week was less than the week before. It is good to see week-over-week decreases. We'll be watching very carefully the information that will come out in the next week, and certainly we'll get our new map from the CDC later tonight about, you want to show the map on who is in the green, who is in the yellow, and who is in the red. Now, if we, in our minds, went back a week or 2 weeks, there was a lot less green and a lot more yellow and a lot more red. You know, the red is receding, though it is receding a little slower than we'd like to see, and a lot has turned green. Now, this map is a weekly map, and so, for instance, Franklin has gone from green to yellow. These things are going to happen. But we still have enough tests coming in that we think we can make this accurate. And this is a tool on our website that you can go to make decisions about where you're headed and what type of precautions you might want to take. Just like the stair-stepper chart for cases is generally good news, though maybe the decline is slowing. But as long as it's still declining, it is good news. The positivity rate is even better. Real steady decline and noticeable decline since our peak. That, of course, is a leading indicator. But let's look at the best news. So we talked about we still do have a number of cases. Maybe they're not declining as fast as we'd like, but look at hospitalizations. This is a wonderful graph, at least in the last part. I mean, it shows you that Omicron put almost as many people in the hospital as Delta at its peak. But look at that downward decline. We are almost, in terms of hospitalizations, back to last summer, which is the best period of time that we have had during this pandemic, one where we could all take a breath. We want to continue to see that declining. And if we look at ICUs, same great decline, also already pretty much down to where we were last summer. Part of this is because Omicron didn't put as many people in the ICU, which we are grateful for. But we love seeing how low that number has gone. And I hope and I pray that maybe it can get even lower than we were last summer. That'd be something we could all celebrate. And finally, ventilators, also a wonderful story about where we are. Again, we're going to continue to monitor this. But if COVID is not itself or through major vaccinations going to disappear entirely, if we are going to learn to live with it, the important thing is we're doing what it takes to prevent hospitalization, severe illness, and death. And these graphs show, at least at the moment, we are moving in that direction. These graphs get really far down and maybe even further down than last summer. That would suggest to me that we are moving to an endemic phase. But remember, the pandemic is not done with us yet. There are variants out there, and we've got to stay at least aware. And if and when CDC and others say we need to get another booster, we need to get it. So get vaccinated. If you haven't gotten your booster yet, please go get it. If you've had COVID since your vaccinations, but before your booster, talk to your doctor about when to get it. Again, living with a virus is not the same as ignoring it. And living, as opposed to dying from a virus, means taking the steps that protect you and protect your family. All right, Team Kentucky All-Stars. We have a couple because this was a week filled with amazing young people, and I think I named all of them Team Kentucky All-Stars in the midst of the week. So today I'm proud to announce two special groups of Team Kentucky All-Stars who I got to meet in person this week. First, I want to recognize the incredible middle and high school students who competed in Kentucky's statewide academic competition, the Governor's Cup, this past weekend. These students have worked hard and sacrificed so much through the pandemic, all while staying dedicated to their goals. I was glad to see them back in person, competing with their classmates and their friends, and they had fun. You know what? So did I. Special group, 1,000 plus. And I want to give a shout out to the Kentucky Association for Academic Competitions Executive Director, John Bennett, who's retiring this summer after 30 years of service. And on a personal note, my aunt, who we lost last year, this was one of her major projects when she worked in education. Staff all talked to me about missing her afterwards, and she made sure that my dad went to this every single year he was governor. And I'm proud to tell her that in the first year we were able to do it in person, I was there. Next, I want to thank the Girl Scout troops from across the state who visited the Capitol this week as we signed a proclamation to celebrate 110 years of Girl Scouts. Let's get to the most important question for all those watching. Yes, there is still time to buy Girl Scout cookies. Keep an eye out for the cookie booth near you. And remember, this is a program that not only raises money for great causes, it teaches them entrepreneurship skills. It teaches them to ultimately be able to look somebody in the eye, even at their age, and ask them to help support the Girl Scouts. These girls came together in Frankfort to advocate for the causes they believe in. They're gaining skills they need to follow their dreams starting right now. And they're learning how to lead their own small businesses. That's right, they're all entrepreneurs already. And they're not young leaders. They're not future leaders. They are leaders. They're already changing their communities for the better. They complete service projects and earn bronze, silver, and gold awards. And they're setting the example for Team Kentucky. Thank you to Maggie Elder and Susan Douglas, the CEOs of Kentucky's 2 Girl Scout councils, for helping people reach their full potential. So here's the thing. Our Governor's Cup students and our Girl Scouts, again, they're not future leaders. They're already leaders. From the sacrifices they made in the pandemic, which have saved lives, these folks at their age have saved lives maybe no other generation can already say that. And especially with the organizations that they're in and the extra purpose that's there, I think this has a chance to be the most special generation that we have seen in Kentucky, and the things that I believe they're going to bring to the future, to their jobs, is going to be pretty amazing. So it's my honor this week to name them our Team Kentucky All-Stars. And with that, we will open it up to questions. We have 2 journalists right here, and I think about 5 on the phone. So we'll start with Karen.
Thank you, Governor. First of all, you talked a lot that when the state of emergency ended, you were concerned about the loss of SNAP benefits. Will this also affect any funding, COVID funding to hospitals or medical facilities? And then the other, you talked about the map. Are you pleased with the new weekly map, the color coding? Do you think that works for it moving forward?
I am pleased with the new color coding on the map because I believe we're moving in the right direction. We're not going to get there all at once, and different counties or regions at different times are probably going to switch colors. But what it says overall is, first, the whole state in red. And we've been there for a long time. And second, it really gives good data to people if they're traveling or where they are to make good decisions. But I believe this is as green as I have seen the map. Now, certainly, I believe last week, almost all of Eastern Kentucky was red. We'd like to see a lot more of it green, but we are seeing progress. My belief is you will see more green and more yellow, at least more yellow next week. So at least in my view, we are moving in the right direction. It's just every region of the state isn't moving there as quickly as others. So if I'm in Eastern Kentucky, I want it to improve more rapidly, but it is moving in the right direction. On the funding side, because the General Assembly ended the state of emergency, Kentuckians will get at least one less month of emergency SNAP benefits. That means for 500,000 Kentuckians, mainly children and seniors that go hungry, they're going to have $100 less to buy food at a time when food costs more. I think that's wrong. I think it's wrong. And it's not worth any political point that someone's trying to make to take food off the table of those that need it. We've communicated with the federal government, and they say you have to have some form of a state of emergency. And in Kentucky, only the governor can make a state of emergency. And the bills that were passed prevent the governor or anybody else from declaring a state of emergency on the same topic after one has expired. And surely we're not going to hear back that, oh, the governor can't declare one, but other people can. Really unfortunate. On the funding side, right now, the House and Senate budgets don't have funding. And we were trying to use ARPA funding for test to stay when we get there in the fall, for community-based testing, for other areas that are critically important and that we know we're going to need to continue to live with COVID, not to be dominated by it, but to ensure we can keep our kids in school. So I would hope we don't come out with a budget when people are talking about learning to live with COVID that has $0 to help mitigate it. Bodie Brooks, did you have a birthday this week?
I did.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. So we're wrapping up here with the legislative session. A week from now, you'll be beginning your veto period to look over some bills. There may be several controversial bills that cross over your desk. Just in the past week, we've seen bills dealing with an abortion omnibus bill. You talked about your position on charter schools. You may have a budget with no pre-K funding, putting SROs in schools, several gambling bills. I'm just curious what your thoughts are as we are wrapping up the legislative session.
Well, as we wrap up the legislative session, my thoughts are there is still time to do good things for people. There is still time to invest in public education, to provide dollars to communities to upgrade their sites so that they have a chance to grab the next Ford battery plan or Pratt paper, that they have an opportunity to ensure access to health care, to build up our regional airports so that every region can compete, and to come around to universal pre-K. Now, universal pre-K for all 4-year-olds just costs 9% of the extra revenue we have this year. You could fund it for the first year with what's left over from the Poker Stars settlement that wasn't allocated in the bill that went through. Think about having every Kentucky kid kindergarten ready. But the other piece is we're hearing a whole lot about workforce, right? And we're seeing a lot of bills pass that hurt our safety net, claiming that it's going to help workforce. But universal pre-K has proven to be the number one thing that we can do to improve our workforce. And when they did in DC, 10% increase in 1 year, saves families $12,500 at least a year. So if you want to achieve your objectives, why would you not fund a program that helps every 4-year-old across Kentucky while beating people down with bills that mean if you've lost a job through no fault of your own, it's harder to get back up. You know, I get that you can publicly demagogue our safety net, but you can't get unemployment if you quit. You cannot get unemployment if you quit. The Great Resignation, those folks aren't getting unemployment. Unemployment's for folks that have been working 10 years in an industry and suddenly the industry no longer exists. And do we give them the time to train them and to get them back in a real career? Or do we make them take the first possible job that comes, no matter the pay, and never get them back on track to be able to ultimately raise and sustain and benefit a family? I admit to being driven by my faith and values, and sometimes that means that I stand against bills that can be publicly demagogued, but it's still the right thing to do. But there is still time. You know, we have more money than ever before in this budget in recurring revenue. We can do amazing things for our people. And if we love our people, I know I do, we should do that. But why, in a session where we have more resources than ever before, would we be taking them away from the ones in need? So I'm going to remain optimistic, at least until sine die, and we definitely need a budget if we're going to operate the government. Final thing I'll say is concerned about the number of bills being passed that put huge new duties on cabinets or areas that already don't have enough people, right? The cuts to benefits in, I think it was House Bill 4, are going to require significant additional people. Think about this. This is the unemployment office where we didn't have enough people to process claims, and we still don't. And suddenly you triple the work, but you don't give $1 additional to have more people to do the work. So not only do I disagree with bills that I think are cruel, if you don't fund them, we can't make it work. And ultimately, you're just setting the part that's supposed to administer the safety net up to fail as well. So as that budget comes around, listen, if we're given a bill that we have to implement that has all these other things, we've got to have the dollars necessary to do it as well. Tom Latex.
Thank you, Governor, and good afternoon to you. I'm going to go in another direction. As I'm sure you're aware, Kentucky Power is they have a pending sale to Liberty Utilities. The Legislative Mountain Caucus and the Attorney General today have both come out against that sale. I was wondering what your thoughts were, and is there anything you can do?
Well, I hope that the caucus and the Attorney General will engage in significant discussions. My question is, what's the alternative? You know, Kentucky Power has been in a spiral for the last decade, increasing their rates on the people who can least afford it, with no real investment in the area. And as rates go up, fewer people can pay for it. So then they have fewer dollars coming in, and thus they raise rates again. You know, it's easy to say no to a move, but what's the other move? And so I'll be anxiously awaiting the thoughts of the Mountain Caucus and the Attorney General at what Kentucky Power can and should do now if the merger doesn't move forward, because Kentucky Power is not in a place, at least as it is structured right now, to be able to provide reliable and affordable energy. Melissa Patrick, Kentucky Health News.
Sorry about that. Hi, Governor. I'm curious if you have investigated the federal guidance that Senator Gibbons alluded to that would allow you to extend the SNAP benefits for 1 month beyond the end of the state of emergency. You know, he suggested other states have done that and that we could too.
So we communicated with USDA, and they said there has to be a state of emergency either by the governor or by an agency. In Kentucky, the only statutes that have states of emergency are for the governor. CHFS can put regulations in place to stop a disease from spreading, but do not have statutory power to declare a state of emergency. And the legislation passed in, I guess, a special session prevent any new state of emergency when on the same topic when one has been ended. So our communications with USDA further convince us that people are going to lose out at least more than a month earlier than otherwise. I think we will see them potentially through the end of April or the beginning of April. They would have gone either to the end of May or the beginning of May. And let's not lose sight in all of this that the federal government is going to extend their state of emergency. And we could have continued to provide at no cost to the Commonwealth extra dollars to help kids and seniors afford food that costs more than before the pandemic. So what this legislature said is no more help. We're going to go back to giving you the same amount pre-pandemic, even though things cost more. Listen, I just signed a bill that the legislature passed because of the continued impacts of COVID on businesses, right? That their costs are up and we need to help them out. Why can't we have the same compassion for kids and seniors that don't have enough to eat as we do for our businesses? I think we can have compassion for both. And you know what? I think our businesses out there agree. I don't think anybody out there wants these folks to go hungry. And there wasn't one darn restriction left in place. Not one. This was a political point. People thinking about their election, and they're willing to sacrifice an extra $100 to help people who sometimes go hungry, make sure they get the food they need to eat. Debbie Yetter.
Hi, Governor. Speaking of safety net issues, I wondered what your thoughts were about House Bill 7, which would reorganize the public benefit system, and if you all have any idea currently of the estimated cost to the state of that.
I believe a fiscal note was provided by CHFS. House Bill 7 is going to decimate our safety net. It's going to harm thousands upon thousands of Kentuckians. It is cruel. Listen, sometimes people need help. Debbie, I don't know about you, but I know people who grew up on public assistance. And they talk about what their SNAP benefits, for instance, allowed them to do. They were still going hungry and they were still struggling. And these are people we go to church with on Sunday, right? These are people whose kids go to school with us. We don't have an overly generous safety net. We have about an average safety net. And you know what? Having a safety net helps people get back into full-time employment and careers in ways that we will need. So I think House Bill 7, it violates certainly my faith and values about how we are supposed to treat one another. Listen, it's going to cost a huge amount of money. And just like House Bill 4, there have been no dollars appropriated that I know of for it. Listen, if you file a bill and you know here are the extra things that a cabinet has to do, then it's going to be more work. And this session to see how many bills are going through without a fiscal note, right? Means we're passing things and creating mandates without putting the funding in them that is needed. Also have some concerns about what happens to some when they speak out about the cost, whether they are ignored in debates or whether they are attacked simply because they're trying to give the right information on what something costs. Joe Ragusa.
Hi, Governor. So I want to ask another question about the legislative session. I was curious what your take is on the fact that the bill funding full-day kindergarten is on a House committee agenda later today and probably set up to be on a House floor vote as early as today, at least. I was curious about your take on that bill specifically, and also kind of how it relates to this discussion on the charter school legislation, because I feel like these two conversations have been kind of intertwined with each other lately.
They have been, and it's wrong. It is wrong to use the education of a 5-year-old as a bargaining chip to get something that you want. We have a duty, and I believe it's a constitutional, moral, faith-based duty to provide a good education for all of Kentucky's kids. And if someone is threatening not to include funding for 5-year-olds and their education to get something else. It's absolutely wrong. There have to be some lines, right? It feels like every line is crossed. There have to be some lines about what we start all these negotiations saying, of course, we're going to do these basic things. Bria Jones.
Hi, Governor. Can you explain a bit more about the agreement that the federal government came with the state about how much they'll pay with the tornado relief? I know you said the 100% ended in January. Will they continue to help pay for some of the things past that? When you're talking about that type of stuff.
So the federal budget that just came out means that, so normally let me go back. Normally in a disaster, the cost allocation under FEMA, and this is only for FEMA eligible expenses. So I want to point out these aren't all the expenses, and FEMA's tough on what the expenses that are allowable are and are not. But the normal breakdown for anything is 75% federal government, 25% state and local, and that's after the president declares a state of emergency, along with the state. So that's where we started. And then the president, when he was on his tour, announced that they would give us for 30 days 100% of Category A and Category B debris removal emergency response. And we got to pick the 30 days. So today we announced that period after looking at all the expenses for Category A, where federal government will pay 100, and Category B, where they'll pay 100. Now, what the budget that just went through is for actually a period of years that will cover, I think, 4 Kentucky disasters. The federal government, and anytime it's not paying the 100% in that 30 days, is going to pay 90% instead of the 75. Now, we still have to figure out on the 10% side, state versus local, but it is enormous. So if you think back to our ice storm, that'll be in there. I believe that there are some flooding events that are in there as well. This is going to be an enormous help for our communities. Something as devastating as the tornadoes, without extra help, I don't know how Graves County and Hopkins County and maybe even Muhlenberg County stay afloat. Maybe Warren County, everything can sustain it, but they shouldn't have to, right? You shouldn't be worse off financially after a disaster that just devastates your community and kills so many of your people than beforehand. And so this is the federal government stepping up and doing an incredible thing. I do want to point out that we are still pushing the state legislature for additional funding. We have not had any appropriation past the original $15 million for travel trailers and $30 million for education-related needs. We appreciated that, but right now the counties are having to front the debris removal costs, which are in the millions of dollars. They're not in a position to do that. We have enough money to front that until it is reimbursed by FEMA. So many other parts of these communities that are hurting. Certainly, we have talked to the legislature, and they have expressed an interest in helping, but it hadn't happened. And we're at the last full week of the session. I do believe one of the bills is being heard today, and I would just plead with the legislature. This is the roughest natural disaster I've ever seen. We are now 3+ months past it. Make the appropriation. All these monies are going to these localities that you represent. Let us pick up the pace and continue to help people. There's no credit here. This is just helping people who have been harmed. All right. With that is today's Team Kentucky update. We're not going to be having one next week. I'm going to take a little bit of time with my family, with my kids, and I hope everybody else is having a good spring. I hope allergies aren't hitting you like they're hitting me, but it is an incredibly beautiful spring. And if you get the chance, the lilies are starting to come up here at the Capitol. They are incredible. They're like our cherry blossoms, which people go to visit Washington, D.C. It's one of the most beautiful times at this building. Come see it and take pictures before the scaffolding goes up, which is what we're going to have to do. Bring your kids and enjoy. Thanks.